The first question that we get a lot is, how do I protect myself and my home from 5G?
Okay, so there are several things you can do to protect your home. One of the solutions, obviously, is to have Orgonite around your home. The more, the better. Before I get into that, there's some other things that you should consider when dealing with the harmful effects of wireless technology like 5G. One of them is you have energy coming from the cell phone towers, your neighbors, and other sources that you have no control over. So you want to provide a barrier of protection from that. So there's small things you can do around the home, like having metal screens on your windows, in your doorways, and what that does, that minimizes the amount of RF energy coming into your home. Other things you can do is that with the electrical power grid that's running through your house, that also carries these signals as well in the form of what is called dirty electricity. So what you can do is purchase something called EMI filters. And these filters, basically when you plug it into your wall socket, it has another socket on it itself so that you can connect your devices to it. It filters or removes the high frequency spikes that is traveling on your power line. It's these spikes that causes these harmful effects to your body also. So EMI filters is another solution. There's also something called RF shielding paints that you can buy online. And RF shielding paints, you can paint your walls with this type of paint, and any incoming radiation that goes through that wall gets blocked out. So those are three solutions that you can do with relative ease to dramatically reduce the amount of energy coming from outside of your environment. Of course, when you go to sleep at night, always turn off any kind of wireless technology. Your routers, even the television, your computer, your mobile phone, definitely. If not, put on airplane mode, remove the battery at night. And what you've done there is remove the immediate sources of wireless technology in your home that would also keep you awake. Now, having said all that, if you've taken all those things into consideration, it's always good to have Orgonite around your home, inside the home and outside the home. And why is that? Orgonite is able to take the stray harmful fields that are in your environment and convert those fields into beneficial energy. Hi, we're Tavan and Naima from Fix the World Morocco.
And welcome to our Orgonite garden. So in this video, we're going to walk you around our garden and show you how we've been using Orgonite in order to create an oasis in a desert climate. We live at the foothills of the Atlas Mountains in Morocco, and when we first started gardening, which was about 18 months ago, we had no idea what we were doing, and we were not able to grow anything because we have something that we call death clay. It's the soil that we're trying to grow our food in. And it was a whole bunch of trial and error, and we realized that we can't grow anything in this soil. So if you're having the same problems, or you live in a very hot climate, sometimes it gets to be about 110 or 120 degrees Fahrenheit here in this area of Morocco. So it's very, very hot. And we have been going through struggles trying to figure out how to grow food, how to grow cool weather vegetables in this particular climate, and we've had a lot of amazing success. And the reason for our success is our Orgonite. So Tavan, can you quickly tell us what is Orgonite and why does it work in the garden?
Orgonite is a technology that's based on the work of the late Dr. Wilhelm Reich, who in the early to mid 20th century was researching cosmic energy, what he called orgone energy, among living things. Now, to measure this energy or the strength of it and its properties, he created these chambers called Orgone accumulators. These were basically boxes where the sides of which were made from alternating layers of metal and non-metal, like steel sheets and sheep's wool, for example, or plastic. Now, when he found that when you created these layers and made a box made out of these materials, that this box had the property of storing energy, or what you call cosmic energy or orgone energy, that had its own unique properties from the environment. So he ran a series of experiments to where you're able to put seedlings inside one of these Orgone accumulators versus seedlings in a control box like made out of wood, and he found that these seedlings sprouted healthier and also faster. He did other experiments dealing with preservation, where you're able to take 2 blood samples, put one in one of these accumulators, a sample of blood inside the control box, and he found that the blood sample was preserved longer, took longer to decay. So these accumulators also have a health preserving effect. It's almost as if the energy that's stored in these accumulators are able to enter the organism, enter the plants, or enter the body. So he is making these accumulators that are human size, and we're putting people with ailments in these boxes, and these people were healing quicker. Some of which were cancer patients that had problems that the only way to heal them was through these accumulators. So it's an amazing technology. So now we fast forward to today, and instead of having these alternating layers of metal and non-metal and making accumulators out of them, people have found that if you you can create these structures that are basically epoxy resin containing metals and crystals inside of them, creating the same effect. And what these do is you have this same orgone field, or what it's called today scalar or torsion field, around these objects.
Which creates great energy.
Which creates great energy.
Which the plants love, and it helps the plants to not be so stressed out.
That's right.
And to be able to grow bigger and stronger and grow in a desert where they're not supposed to grow.
This technology takes the stray, harmful fields in the environment and turns it into healthy energy.
That's right. So we're going to take the camera and we're going to follow Tavan around our garden patch over here to give you an idea of where you can place these pyramids and our garden stones as well. And then we'll also bring you up onto the roof and show you the bigger scope of the property. So if you have a large piece of land, like an olive grove like we're living in, or some kind of large farmland, to give you an idea as to how you can place the pyramids on a larger scope of property.
Okay, so we're going to take this plot, for example. This garden plot here is about 4 meters by 8 meters deep. And as you can see, we got a couple of garden beds in this plot. These are actually framed. Some of these are plants inside of pots. And so I'm going to give you an example of what to do. Now, first, you want to take these pyramids here, these orgonite pyramids, and you want to grid the entire plot of where your garden is. Now, some people have massive plots, but for the sake of this particular video, what you'd want to do is the borders that's defining this plot, meaning these poles here, you want to put 4 pyramids, 1 in each corner to start. When you start to go into the actual garden itself, there's certain things you want to do. The more orgonite, the better. We have these garden stones. Now, these orgonite garden stones are good for containing or having an orgone field within the actual pot itself. So you want to have these garden stones in the actual pots themselves. As you can see, we have some vegetables here, and they're actually in pots. So again, one of these is good for maybe 1, 2, or 3 of these pots. Take one of these garden stones again, and maybe set one in there. And I would probably take another one and actually put it on the put it over there. But what you find is that this field extends will extend all the way around your garden. You've already put 4 pyramids on the 4 corners of the actual plot itself. Now, but what you're doing is you're basically dotting the inside of where your plants are with these pieces of garden stones. This is what we do with the garden beds here. We have the garden bed right here, for example. You can take maybe between 2 and 4 of these stones and put it in the corner. You put them in the corner there like that. If you have some extra orgonite laying around, I mean this is a bit much, but let's say maybe not in this garden bed, but maybe the one there. You put a pyramid like that, right there, in our lettuce bed, and by doing that is you've strengthened this field that's dotted with your orgonite all throughout your garden.
Could we talk a bit about the lettuce?
Sure.
Because lettuce is a cold climate vegetable. It likes to grow in cold climates, and we have been growing lettuce, cold climate lettuce, in the desert, yes, which is 110 degrees Fahrenheit and really, really hot. So how have we been doing that? Here's one of our older lettuce beds. We have been harvesting out of this bed.
Yeah, it's kind of a miracle to try to grow it in this environment. We had basically come up with ways of keeping this moist with layers of cardboard and manure and all kinds of different methods, and so that the water will stay retained and not run off and go anywhere else in the death clay that you see actually over there. So we had to come up with these methods of doing that, but then to top it off, we started planting orgonite in our beds. We were also planting orgonite in the seedlings when we're actually sprouting our lettuces, sprouting our different vegetables. So yeah, so we had to have all these plants growing in seedlings in our greenhouse around orgonite also.
And this is where I'm going to start all my seedlings. And here's the fun part. We got these hanging baskets that I set up there. And I thought this was a really cool way, because I want to get everything off the ground. There's too much stuff on the floor. I feel like I'm always bending over all the time. So rather than just building lots and lots of shelves, I decided to hang all the plants from the ceiling. And so back here, what do we got? First of all, we have Cliffy has come. We also call him the mouth because all he does is meow all day long. This is our Malabar spinach that we grew from seed. And I am so impressed. These big, beautiful, juicy leaves, it's like spinach. It tastes just like spinach. It's actually a little bit milder than spinach. And they grow in a vine. So it's spinach on a vine. And I started them from seed. They're growing in these buckets now. That's a nice, beautiful kale in the back. And these buckets are going to go out into the garden probably in another couple weeks, I think. We'll let them get really big. And then we'll start training them to grow up the trellis fence. And yeah, little cabbage sprouts and some calendula, and any kind of plants that we want to baby. I also have this shelf over here where we've got some pieces of kale I'm trying to bring back to life, some kale on the bottom. And there we go. That's our little greenhouse.
That's very important to have the orgonite around or on or underneath the actual tray where you're growing your seedlings, so that you're basically creating these healthy conditions for them to sprout. And so they come out healthy. Otherwise, the seedlings might not sprout at all. And they could be attacked by, if it's not the sun, it's from just external harmful effects of radiation and pests. And so you're basically creating this nice environment for the seeds to sprout, and then so that when you plant them, when they get larger and healthier into a bed like this, they have a greater chance of surviving and becoming strong and healthy, like what you see here. So that was an example of gridding a bed that has some wooden frames around it, And again, you want to have 4 pyramids to kind of grid the property that you actually have your garden in. I know there are some people who are watching this video that have actually fairly large plots of land around their home, but we're able to grow these tomato plants, which tend to grow in a more cooler climate. We like these because they're like stronger vines now. We're going to redo this whole thing.
Yeah, they're reaching their end of their season, so they're not looking their best right now, but
yeah, but as they're reaching the end of the season, you're also seeing some new growth on some of the ends. You're seeing some new growth at the bottom of it, but we have this pyramid in the middle of this bed here to kind of just basically create a strong environment for these tomatoes that we have here. Brussels sprouts. These are our Brussels sprouts. Again, you can take one of these garden stones. One garden stone in one of these pots is good for maybe like the 3 there. Now this is a fairly larger pot there, so I would take one of these garden stones and I would toss one in there as well. That's basically what we've been doing, and we believe that it has boosted the effectiveness of us growing our plants here. In addition to us using these various techniques to grow our garden within a desert climate, having Orgonite as a tool with your skills just makes the plants healthier. It boosts the health of your plants. So now we're on top of the flat roof, and now I'm going to show you where you want to place your Orgonite on a large plot of land. What you can see here is a space of land that I can put Orgonite on for such a plot. If you can see there is a mud building there, and so I would take one of these pyramids and I would put it right on the corner of that building, and that would mark, let's say, the right side of the plot right there. And then going across here, you can see a vineyard across the vineyard, and on the left edge of that vineyard I would take another pyramid and I would put it at the corner, marking the end of that vineyard on the left side right there. We've just placed 2 pyramids on our property. Now you're trying to grid your property, so you're going to need 4. So for the 3rd corner, I'm going to place one of these pyramids for us over about 5 olive trees that way. Is a corner marking the 3rd corner of our plot. I'm going to place one of these pyramids over there, maybe at the corner at the base of one of the olive trees on the far end. And finally, for the 4th corner, I'm going to place one of these pyramids right over there. And that will be the 4 pyramids gridding this property.
here's just one more quick example. So here we've got a nice large plot of land. These are some brand new baby olive trees in the center. And one thing you could do is just grid this with one pyramid here, one back here, and one over there. Just to give you another idea of how you can grid a plot of land.
I hope you found it helpful on how to grid your property with Orgonite. Now, we ship all over the world. We make each one of these pyramids by hand. Just look at the link below. And thanks for watching. Hi, this is Tavan from Fix to World Morocco, and today I'm going to show you how you can grid your home, the outside, with Orgone pyramids. Okay, so what we see here is a home that's approximately 1,000 square foot. And what you're going to want to do is take each one of the 4 pyramids and place them around the edge of your home. This is the first pyramid, and I'm placing it right in the border down on the ground. This is the second pyramid, and I'm placing it right down on this corner of the property. This is the third pyramid, and I'm placing this on the corner, the third corner. This is the last pyramid for the 4th corner of the property. Okay, now you've just effectively gridded your property with Orgonite. And what this has effectively done is dispense with the chemtrails not only above your home, but also in your neighborhood. It works constantly, works 24/7, and this is how you effectively grid your property if you own it. Now, if you rent your property, there might be some other issues involved. If it's a public space where people are traveling or going through it, you might have some problems with people, or if you're afraid of people taking one of the pyramids. Then you have to look into other considerations. Like, for example, like this property has a flat roof. So if you don't have the land around you where you can plant all 4 pyramids, you can put the 4 maybe on the top of your flat roof. Also, if you are someone who lives in an apartment, you obviously don't have any land to put the pyramids around. In that case, you'd take the 4 pyramids and you'd put it on the 4 corners inside your home. So these are considerations to look at when you're looking at gridding your property. If you own it and you have acres, then you can get 4 or 8 or 12, depending on how much land you have, and proceed to grid your property based on the dimensions of your land. But if you rent, then it depends on what the landlord has allowed you to place on your property. If you have people going through it and you have concern about people taking your pyramids, then you should probably consider either having it on some part of your property, like your flat roof, or just doing it on the inside of your home. So now let me show you where you can use Orgonite on the inside of your home. Okay, so you're in your main living space, where I suggest one of the main places to put one of these pyramids is where you're doing most of your online activity, and that includes where the TV, the computer, and the router is. In this case, we're going to take one of these pyramids and we're going to put it right next to the router. It's not going to block the signal, but it's going to transform that wireless energy that's coming off of this device into something that's more beneficial, that won't harm you as much. So we're going to take this pyramid and we're going to set it near the router, just like that.
And that's enough, right? That'll do it?
And that's enough.
That's great.
It's great to have Orgonite generally where it's the most lived in the house. And the living space is obviously a place where everyone comes to relax and watch movies and eat and dine and so forth. So along this sofa, if you have a coffee table or some kind of long horizontal surface, you want to place an Orgonite piece, maybe a charge plate, maybe a pyramid, in the center of the room or on your coffee table. In a place to where when there's a lot of people, it also promotes a sense of well-being. And this is all because of simply the stray fields in the environment. When they impact upon your Orgonite piece, it emits a negative ion, and it's a negative passive ionizer, and that's what gives you a sense of well-being, relax, reduces the stress, and creates a calming environment. So you also want to put a pyramid where there's a lot of activity. You want to put a pyramid near the wireless or some of the wireless machinery, the television, the computer, in order to transform some of those fields from the device that's actually radiating the energy. You also want to put a pyramid in the center of the room where it's the most lived in. But generally, as a good buffer for the inside your home, you want to take a pyramid and you want to put it in the corners of each one of your rooms. So here, we're going to take this pyramid, we're going to put it in the corner of the living room. Now, I'm going to show you how we use Orgonite in the kitchen. So what you see here are two of our bronze charge plates. And we're just going to show you some of the uses for these charge plates. We use them to keep things fresh, things structured, like structured water. And we make our structured water by using our distiller to make us a thing of distilled water. So when we want to structure our drinks, what we do is we take some of our distilled water and we put it on our charge plates, and the structuring process only takes a couple of minutes, at least for small drinks. And the next thing you know, it passively basically structures the water molecules. You don't see anything, but the field that's coming off of these plates is structuring everything above it. So this water becomes structured in about 5 minutes or so. Now, we make a lot of distilled water and we store it in these jugs here. So the way we structure our water with our containers of distilled water is after we've mineralized our distilled water, we set it on our charge plate and we leave it for 24 hours at a time. And now after 24 hours, after this field has been going through this container with the water, we just take it off and we just use it and we put another container on. This water is now structured and you can enjoy the health benefits of structured water. Now also, when we get our fruit and vegetables from the local shop, all of it's organic, we set the bowls on plates as well and we just leave it there. And what you'll find is that the fruits and vegetables that you have resting on plates tend to decay much longer, at a much longer rate than if you didn't have the charge plates. We've done the experiments ourselves. Others have replicated this experiment that you can find online with various vegetables, with cherry tomatoes sitting on charge plates versus cherry tomatoes not on charge plates. And you preserve your fruits and vegetables much longer this way and you save yourself a lot of money. So for your wine connoisseurs, an idea here is to take using the charge plate as a means of storing the wine near it or on it in your wine cellar. By having a charge plate in your collection, you basically preserve your wine in a much healthier way. You allow the fermentation process and so forth to work for you by using this technology. By having the Orgonite charge plate in your wine cellar, not only is it helping you preserve your wine better, but it's also improving and preserving the taste that you work so hard to achieve in your collection. But let me show you the best way to use Orgonite in the kitchen. And that's in the fridge. By putting this plate inside the fridge, what you've just done is increase the shelf life of all your products within your fridge. It turns the whole thing into an Orgone accumulator box. Your vegetables will be lasting 3 or 4 times longer. Now let me show you how you can use Orgonite to help you sleep. Okay, what you see here are Orgone sleeping pods. Now these sleeping pods are compact, portable, but they're also thick, and that's the secret to its strength. And what you do is you have this resting on you or near you in the bed or under your pillow, like so. And by doing that, that allows you to get a good night's rest. A lot of us are very sensitive to the harmful effects of EMF. And with the rollout of wireless technology like 5G and so forth, there's going to be problems with people being able to rest at night because of the interaction of these fields with the body. So what these do is when you have them on you, when you have it under your pillow, it provides a field of protection around your body so that you can get a good night's rest. So I hope that gave you some ideas on how you can use Orgonite inside and outside of your home. Orgonite's changed my life greatly. It's why I started making it. It's because I was really affected by the harmful effects of EMF. I couldn't sleep at night. I was feeling really ill, and I had to find something that would work. And this is where I found out about Orgonite, what it was, and it's why I started making it. And I'm just glad to have customers contacting us and telling us what they like, what improvements we can make, and I'm just really pleased to be making these now for other people. And so I found the benefit of having this around the home. And if you're interested and want to purchase, you can go to fdwproject.com for that. And also look at our special offers in the link below.
Can I put the Orgonite, like say like a plate, directly into my water tank?
Okay.
To treat the water?
Yeah.
So actually, let's expand on that a little bit, because we've had some people that they want to take the Orgonite sleeping pod or the charge plate, and they want to just basically put it directly into their water tank, like in with the water. And we're saying, no, you really don't want to do that.
Yes.
What you want to do is put it maybe underneath your water tank.
Yes.
Right, because all you need is the energy field that's coming off of this, right? And the energy field will go through the water tank, and it will work the same way. So you don't need to actually put it inside
that's right.
of the water tank.
Yeah.
It's not really that harmful if you do.
Well, I wouldn't suggest you do it.
But it might get like worn down over time, but we just wouldn't suggest that you do that.
Oh, I don't think. We don't suggest you put any of these products in your water supply. Again, at the end of the day, this is a plastic, and slowly does degrade over time. So don't do that.
Yeah.
The whole point of having Orgone-based products is that the field itself goes through all material into the actual thing you're trying to treat.
Right.
And an easy experiment of that is the distilled water ice test. I have a glass of, and we'll talk about this later, but have a glass of water resting on top of one of these charge plates and put it in the freezer. And when that ice freezes, the vortex pattern that's coming from the Orgonite is actually frozen inside the ice. It's an amazing experiment, but it's to show that that 3D field, that structure, is captured in the water through the glass container. So yeah, all the Orgonite you can put near the water supply, near the thing you're trying to treat, and the water over time will be structured, will be conditioned. Hi, I'm Tavon Rivers from Fix the World Morocco. I have a special offer that I would like to make to you today for our Orgonite charge plates. An Orgonite charge plate is made from Orgonite material that is able to take the stray fields in the environment and turn it into healthy energy for the home. People use Orgonite plates to protect them and their home from the harmful effects of EMF that exist in the environment from Wi-Fi, 5G, from your television, and from other sources of high-frequency radiation. What are these plates used for? You can have these plates in the refrigerator to preserve your food longer. You can also rest bowls of fruits and vegetables over the plate to preserve your food that way. The plate can also structure water by taking a pitcher of distilled water and placing it on top of them. Now normally, these plates sell for $99 each, but today we have some special offers at the link below. But why just get one? We also have special offers for 2 charge plates at the link below. And finally, I'd like to introduce you to our new shungite plate. Now, what is shungite and what makes this plate more powerful? Shungite is a material found in Karelia, Russia. It's only found in one place in the world. And shungite is also made of 98% carbon, some of which is made from a unique carbon mineral called fullerenes. Now these fullerenes have detoxing properties. They're used with all kinds of different applications, from water filtration to nuclear remediation. but they're also able to transform the harmful fields in the environment at the atomic level. So shungite is a very special mineral, and we've included extra shungite in our shungite charging plates. At Fix the World Morocco, we're celebrating 1 year of making Orgonite with over 1,000 happy customers. I make every piece by hand, and we personally package and ship to locations all over the world. Remember, worldwide shipping is included in our special offer price. If you have any questions, please send it to fixtheworldproject@gmail.com, and either myself or my wife Naima will promptly respond to you. These offers at these prices only last for the next 24 hours once you click that button. So don't delay, order your charge plate today. Okay, so what we have over here are, what you see are the molds that I use to make our Orgonite products, and then the actual products that we offer. And for all of these things, for example, these silicone molds, the material is silicone, we actually make the designs inside of them for our pendants. These designs I basically draw up in CAD. I send the design to a 3D manufacturer who either through CNC processes makes a master for these pieces. The masters look like similar to the products that we provide, but they're in plastic, or they're in metal, or they're in wood. And we take these masters and we cast them in silicone. And when we cast them in our silicone, that's how we create our silicone molds. So we have these, what you see here are the different pieces of silicone for our products, the pendants, the pyramids, for our new sleeping pods, and also for our garden pucks, and so forth. And now in making this, going through this process of making our own stuff was a process in its own. And the reason why we do this is actually we basically have full control over the manufacturing process. This is our charging plate here. And we also then, it's cheaper for us to actually manufacture. Surprisingly, if you get someone else to create your molds, they end up being 5 to 10 times more expensive in the manufacturing process. And so when we went through the process of making our masters for the pyramid, for example, we got this Teflon mold online. Basically, the way this works is it comes together, and you tape the ends, and then you fill it with your Orgonite mix epoxy resin. And then after it cures, you peel it apart. And this is how we were creating the masters for our pyramids that we then use to cast for our silicone molds that we end up making for our customers. Now, you could just get these molds online, these Teflon molds that are in pieces and come together to make your pyramids, but this is a long process. To put it together, tape it together, pour it, then cure, then take it apart and clean the mold each time, takes much longer than pouring out of these silicone molds for our customers. So we streamlined the process since we began the research into Orgonite 2 years ago, and $2,000 later we found out what works for us, what's the most cost-effective and cheapest means of creating this, but yet having a high quality and personalized designs that we've come up with to have the Orgonite that you see in front of you. Now, while I'm making this Orgonite, also I'm using powders. And the reason why I use powders is for the reason that you'd have powders in your supercapacitors versus sheets of metal in your average capacitor, because a supercapacitor can store up to millions of times more charge than your average capacitor because it's powder. Powders in Orgonite function the same way. Orgone energy is intimately connected to electric charges. Therefore, if you want to make your Orgonite more powerful, you use powders, which is why if you go online and try to buy Orgonite, which is strictly powders, it's more expensive because powders, they simply are. But also, the benefit of that is you don't need to use as much powder as you would, let's say, aluminum shavings from the machinist. You have to pay for them, but what you get on the end is a more powerful Orgonite piece, and that is why I use them. Now, the powders, the type of powders I use are, as you can see here, shungite, which is the black powder, which is a type of fullerene carbon mineral that's found in only one place in the world, and has its own properties on its own, dealing with taking stray electromagnetic fields and turning them into beneficial fields. And then the next powder I have is quartz sand. Sometimes I change this between that and mineral rock salt, which comes in abundance here. A lot of these minerals I use as powders are local. I have brass powder here. Again, very fine brass powder, very fine. And if you look inside, as you can see, that is very fine powder. Have steel powder. Open that for you. Yeah, that's steel powder. Again, very fine powder you have here. And it's difficult to open this, but this is iron oxide. It's called magnetite. Again, that, like the shungite powder, it's just pitch black. And I won't open that, but there you go. So when these powders, when I mix them all together, I have at a specific ratio, I have my blend. It kind of shimmers in the sun, but this is the blend. Now, what's beautiful about using powders versus shavings is that the amount of powder I use is much less amount than I would if it was in shavings. You're told often online, if you research making your own Orgonite online, you're told that you have to use 50-50 shavings versus your epoxy resin in volume. Now, I can't open this. This is a white powder of zinc oxide. It's just pure white zinc oxide. So I use that also. But you're told often that you have to use 50-50, 50 shavings versus 50 epoxy resin. However, that does not apply with powder. You only need to use a small amount, and if you try to use 50-50 with powder, you'll actually get something that looks like rubber and not an epoxy. Also, the great thing about powder is you don't need to use much of it, close to more 18% versus the rest being epoxy in volume, because powder has so much surface area, so you don't need much to get a powerful effect. So powder is the way to go, and we make all of our materials using powdered Orgonite. Hi, I'm Tavan from Fix the World Morocco. I have a free Orgonite pendant that I'd like to offer you so you can try out Orgonite for yourselves. What is Orgonite? Orgonite is a special material of metal powders, all encased in an epoxy resin, that is able to take the stray fields in the environment and turn it into healthy, beneficial energy around your home, around your family, and in the neighborhood. Orgonite is used to combat the harmful effects that's coming from wireless technology, from the Wi-Fi, from 5G, from the television screen, and from radio. Orgonite can be used to combat all of these things. We're giving away this pendant, which is a $30 value, for free, so that you can try out Orgonite for yourself. All we ask is that you pay a small shipping and handling fee. We have some other special offers on pendants that will only last for the next 24 hours. We have our Fix the World purple pendant, a retail value of $35, but the special offer is $12.99. Our blue pendant with a retail value of $35, but the special offer is $19.99. Or our special black shungite pendant with a retail value of $35 and a special offer of $19.99. You can also get a set of 2 bronze pendants with a retail price of $60, but a special offer of $24.99. We also have a special set of bronze pendants for the whole family, a retail value of $150, but for the special offer price of $49.99. Also, be sure to check out our matching Orgonite pendant and bracelets that we have. At Fix the World Morocco, we're celebrating 1 year of making Orgonite with over 1,000 happy customers. Worldwide shipping is included in our special offer price. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us at fixtheworldproject@gmail.com, and either myself or my wife Naima will promptly respond to you. Now, these offers at these prices will only last for the next 24 hours once you click that button. So don't delay, order your pendants today. Now the epoxy, what we use is a two-part epoxy, which is very common in resin making projects. This is epoxy, and this is what is called a catalyst. And now any thermoplastic normally comes in two parts. Now epoxy resin, which is what you get when you combine your epoxy versus your catalyst, comes to 2 to 1. So for every, let's say if you had 300 milliliters to pour, 200 milliliters would be epoxy, and then 100 milliliters would be your catalyst. And you mix that together, and over time, in a matter of hours, it hardens into a resin. Now this process, the epoxy resins and resins like that, are defined as a thermoplastic, and they're normally used for anything from waterproofing the decks of your boat, of your yacht, or your floors if you have a storefront, to making jewelry. Resin, everyone has seen and is probably wearing right now resin jewelry. So this is nothing new. It's been used for decades, a long time, and now we're simply using this process to create Orgonite, mainly because it's a nonmetal and it contains the carbon chain. It's a type of organic thermoplastic material. Okay, so the epoxy is a thermoplastic. And thermoplastics are any kind of liquids and their catalysts that you put together over time that hardened into the plastic piece that you want. Now, your mobile phone, your smartphone, the casing for that, this is made from a thermoplastic. It's injected into a mold, and that's thermoplastic. Also, your laptops. This is the cases for these. They're thermoplastics. They're liquid initially, and they're cured either through UV or what have you, but they're also mixed with a catalyst, and you get this. Our Orgonite, the epoxy that we're mixing to make our Orgonite, is a thermoplastic. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour an Orgonite bronze charging plate for one of our customers. Now, before I start pouring, I have to prep the mold. Now, I've already designed the mold, taken it to the person who has created this CAD master of the charging plate. I've poured the mold out of silicone, and now I'm about to use this mold that I've just made for pouring the Orgonite. Now, before I do that, if I have used this mold before, I have to actually clean it. So I've already cleaned the mold. Now I'm going to prepare the mold. And the way we get our finish for our brass bronze charging plate, this finish here, is we use a metal coating. And the metal coating we use is a bronze aluminite. And so I'm going to do this process. I'm going to use this brush, and I'm going to brush the inside of the mold, and then it will be ready for me to pour my Orgonite. So I'm going to start on that now. Okay, I don't want to pour too much powder. There's an actual ratio to pouring it, but there's an actual look. There's a look within the mixture, and it should be uniform, but not so much that the powder, the heavy metals, not the metals, but the metals are heavier and denser in the powder start to sink to the bottom, and you don't want that. You want the perfect mixture where everything is floating inside, but it's dense enough for it to be very effective. So it's like this thick, darkened film that you can just barely see through. So what I'm doing here is I'm checking the thickness and the consistency of the mix, and it's ready now.
And how much trial and error did you have to go through?
A lot.
Talk about that.
Let me tell you, it's not 50-50. If you were to pour 50% of this versus the resin, you'd end up with putty. Something like a butamin or something like that. It'd be like rubber. And when it comes to powders, it's completely different. The surface area for the charge that's being stored for the orgonite process is much higher. You don't need that much. You don't need that much powder. It's not like shavings. It's like a completely different ball game. So what you have here is basically a composite. So this is orgonite going into another level. We're going into fine powders, and this is basically composite making here. Using these powders that have shielding capabilities and also create a standing, it's called torsion field, scalar field, but also, or the Orgone field. So now I'm about to pour this into our mold.
Clean everything immediately.
Clean everything immediately because this stuff will start to harden, and once you get there, you're not going to be able to reuse this. So as you can see, it's already darkened from multiple uses. So I clean everything immediately so I can reuse it next time. Okay, so we just finished pouring our Orgonite. Now, you're going to have to let it sit in the mold for about 24 hours. That's when it's solid. Now, I tend to check on it about the 8-hour mark. Also depends on what time of the year you're doing this. The more you do this over the course of a year, you realize that the curing time may be longer or shorter depending on things like humidity and temperature. But after it's done curing, it'll be rock hard. You'll know when it's done. You'll be able to just pop it out of the silicone, which is why we use silicone. There's no release agent involved in having to spray the insides of the mold. You simply pour it in, as you saw me do, and just pop it out. Now, our silicone molds are only good for about 10 molds or so, 10 pours or so. So we always have to keep making more. But after you're done, we get this beautiful finish on our bronze brass charging plate. This is the finish here, and this is how it looks on the back.
Can we hold it in the sun?
Yeah, sure.
Can you reach the sun?
Let's see if I can. There's a bit of sunlight here. There we go.
Nice.
Most people have problems sleeping because of the electronic pollution that is in the environment. Things like the Wi-Fi in your home, the television, cell phone towers. Studies have shown that turning off the router, the television, and the computer in your home reduces sleepless nights. Now, although you can shut off the electronic pollution in your home, you still can't control the electronic pollution that comes into your home from things like the cell phone towers, if you're in an apartment complex, the router in the room next door, or if you're in a hotel room. These are things that you can't control. So you can't turn these things off, and they can still beam into your bedroom while you're trying to sleep. Hi, I'm Tavon Rivers from Fix the World, and I suffered from insomnia for years until I found this solution. This is an Orgone Energy sleeping pod. It creates a shield of protection around your body that will allow you to sleep while blocking away the electronic pollution in the environment. So let me explain what's happening. When you are bombarded by electronic pollution, it constantly stimulates your brain. Now, this constant stimulation prevents your brain from creating something called melatonin. Now, melatonin is a hormone that is created in the pineal gland, which regulates your sleeping patterns. If you're being bombarded by electronic pollution, that's why you can't sleep. When you're able to shield your body from electronic pollution, you're able to rest more deeply, and you can do it without any pills. You wake up feeling more energized, you can think more clearly, and you basically awake with more energy, and basically, it's just you feel better. This Orgone Energy sleeping pod is made from a composite of powders of shungite, iron oxide, quartz, and brass powders, all encased in an epoxy resin. And Orgone Energy refers to the energy that exists in all nature and living beings. And I make each one of these by hand. Orgonite, which is what this is a natural technology. It passively creates negative ions in the air that can be measured with sensitive equipment. Now, we've made this Orgone Energy sleeping pod in a sleek design that conforms to your hand, so it's very nice to touch, and is also in a nice, tranquil blue color. We've been testing these pods ourselves while we've been sleeping, and I can say that my partner and I have been sleeping better than we have in years. The other great feature of this product is that it fits nicely in the palm of your hand, and so it's very portable. You can take it anywhere you go, especially if you travel. Now, this has been a godsend for us because me and my partner, we travel a lot, and it can be difficult to fall asleep when you're not in the comfort of your own home. Normally, these sleeping pods sell for $75. But if you order in the next 24 hours, you can get it for the special price below. We also have a deal where you can order 2 pods for you and your partner for a combined discount. So don't delay, order your sleeping pod below and start sleeping better and feeling better than you've felt in years.
So that's it for now, everybody. We'll wrap this up by saying that if you want to check out our special offers on our different products, we have all kinds of special offers that are running where you can get some great deals. We ship worldwide.
And you can always contact us through our email if you have any questions about any of our products.